it out, but I would say, please briefly shake the hands with 2 people around you. But of course, Corona times, don't shake anybody's hand. So what's a little substitute here? I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Imagine that we're all in the same space together, and look to your right. Imagine that you're shaking someone's hand, and then look to your left. Imagine that you're shaking someone's hand, and then you're kind of back to me. And now I would ask you, how did that feel? Right? How did that little handshake feel? Do you feel good? I don't know. Did it feel awkward? So I kind of get everyone's responses. Okay, well, if you want, you can take a seat again. So what if I would tell you that how these handshakes made you feel depends not only on your night of sleep from last night, but also the other person's night of sleep from last night. So to explain what they did, and they did this in the lab that I got my PhD at UC Berkeley. So of course I always pay attention. So this is really cool social interaction experiment where in the lab, they would have someone walk towards someone else, and then this person would say, stop. You're kind of now in my interpersonal space, and this is where I feel comfortable, and I don't really want you any closer. So they did this physically in the lab, and this was before Corona, by the way, but they also did it digitally. And that would kind of look like this. You sit behind your computer and you have to press the button where you're like, whoa, like that's getting a little too close there in my comfort zone. So they have this physical data and this digital data, and they both point to the same conclusions. Quite interesting. Firstly, we see that after a good night of sleep, people let other people come pretty close to them, and that's really a sign of kind of pro-social behavior. However, after a bad night of sleep, we keep people really at a distance. But on top of that, we feel much more lonely after a bad night of sleep. So we keep people at a distance, but at the same time, we feel more lonely. And then the study went a step further. So they brought in independent judges that didn't know who was sleep deprived or who had had a good night of sleep. And then these judges had to look at these people. And they found that these judges also rated the tired people as more lonely, even though they didn't know that they were, had a bad night of sleep. Secondly, after looking at these tired people, the judges also rated themselves to be more lonely. And on top of that, they said that they didn't really want to interact or cooperate with these tired people. So this is super interesting, where if you've had a bad night of sleep, it doesn't just impact you, it also impacts the people around you. And particularly here, of course, you see this social isolation after a bad night of sleep. So really kind of the first time that we see, first of all, that loneliness is affected after sleep deprivation, but that it has this further social impact on the people we work with. So you can imagine that if you come into the office very tired and your colleagues see you, that it's going to be a very different dynamic from when you walk into the office, well rested. And this isn't about being cheery or anything like that, because these people were just being looked at and judged. So very, very interesting, I think.